Some bottles cost more because they're better.
And some bottles cost more because you think they are.
Same distillery, same mash bills.
Very different reality and a whole lot of confusion in between.
Today, we're breaking down the Buffalo Trace lineup.
And where the hype, scarcity, and secondary pricing completely distort what these bottles are actually worth.
Because here's the truth. Most of these are great at the right price.
And completely unreasonable at the wrong one.
So, stay tuned.
Right here
In the lounge
with Stave and Slide.
All right, before we get into this, let's set the tone. None of these are bad bottles.
No, that's not what this is. This is about value, perception, and what happens when bourbon becomes more about chasing bottles.
Absolutely. More about chasing than actually drinking them. And Buffalo Trace is the perfect example of this.
Exactly. They make really good bourbon, and the market turned it into something else entirely.
It blew it right out of the water. So let's define what we mean by the Buffalo Trace problem. It's more about people just liking their bourbon, right?
Right. If it were only that simple. The problem is what happens when you get this perfect storm of good whiskey, genuinely limited supply, internet hype, store allocations, and an out of control secondary market hitting all at once.
Right. And Buffalo Trace kind of became the epicenter of that storm. And it had nothing to do with the whiskey like being bad, because it's good enough to be desirable.
And it feels accessible enough so people think they should be able to find it. That's the real tension. This isn't like chasing a bottle is a once in a lifetime find.
Right. It's chasing a bottle that looks, feels, and is priced like it should be normal everyday purchase.
But it isn't normal anymore.
That's what happened. And to understand that, you have to really look at the bourbon boom. What happened when that bourbon boom came about, because for years, bourbon was underpriced, underappreciated, and just collecting dust on liquor store shelves. It was seen as like your grandfather's drink, right? No, people were not drinking it.
Right, then almost overnight, the market changed. The cocktail culture roared back. We've referenced the cocktail renaissance several times.
Yep.
And suddenly everyone was rediscovering the old fashioned.
Yeah,
whiskey bars popped up everywhere.
For sure. You had the Mad Men culture. You had the late '90s, the early 2000s cocktail renaissance. Really kicked it off. But people started caring about the details, age statements, barrel strength, single barrels, even the details behind the label. Bourbon, it became a collectible.
Yeah, and the moment it stopped behaving like a drink and started behaving like a sneaker drop.
Yeah, like people getting in line for the latest iPhone release, right? Or a hot concert ticket, or a rare trading card. Bourbon became a commodity, and Buffalo Trace was perfectly positioned for that moment.
You're right. They had all the ingredients. Buffalo Trace has the history, the heritage, and undeniably great branding.
Yeah, they're perfectly positioned. Beautiful campus. Their marketing is great, and just like you said, they were in the right place, perfectly positioned.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it has this incredible ecosystem of products that all feels connected.
Yep.
They are all connected. You have Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, Weller, Stag, and of course, Pappy Van Winkle.
Pappy, all the coveted Pappy.
That's a lot of cultural gravity under one roof.
Yep, for sure. And that's so important because once people that were on the forums and the social media and all that, they learned that all of these sought after bottles were connected, that chase intensified.
Yeah, especially with Weller. The moment the world connected that Weller is a wheated bourbon, just like Pappy is a wheated bourbon, the nickname Poor Man's Pappy was born.
Yeah, people try to make that Poor Man's Pappy. They were combining Weller and Weller 107, or trying to come up with whatever those measurements and whatever those recipes were to make that poor man's pappy.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And that poor man's pappy, that might be the most expensive nickname in bourbon history.
Yeah, no kidding. Once that idea got out, Weller just kind of vanished from the shelf.
It did. It used to be everywhere. You could find it all over the place you could get it for a song. But just like you said, and we can't talk about the Buffalo Trace problem without talking about the fall release season, the antique collection, the BTAC.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, right. This is the final boss of bourbon hunting, I guess. George T. Stagg, William LaRue Weller, Thomas H. Handy, Eagle Rare 17, and Sazerac 18. Once a year, the entire bourbon world loses its collective mind.
All bottles that I don't have a single one of because I like to think that I have not lost my collective mind. My wife might disagree with that, but I'm not paying that kind of money for those bottles. I like to have a bunch of them, but yeah, that became the ultimate fuel for the tater culture, right? BTAC bottles, they've got suggested retail prices of around $100 and $125 or so, but on that secondary market, they instantly flip for $1,000, $2,000, sometimes more.
Yeah, it's a lottery ticket in a glass bottle.
Yeah.
And I think it stays in the bottle because I don't know a whole lot of people in our circles that are going to spend that kind of money and just pour it out willy-nilly.
Right. They're largely remain unopened.
Yeah, and that markup, that insane markup is what kind of breaks the system. People see that kind of instant profit or instant equity, depending on what you're going to do with it, and suddenly they're not hunting BTAC. They're not just hunting BTAC. They assume that anything made by Buffalo Trace is like liquid gold.
For sure. That frenzy over George C. Stagg, it trickles all the way down the shelf. The taters are going to clear out cases of standard $25 to $30 Buffalo Trace just because they associate the distillery's name with winning that lottery.
Yeah, and it forces liquor stores to play kind of weird games. To even get a chance at buying BTAC bottles at retail stores make you enter lotteries. They buy thousands of dollars of in-store picks or buy bundles of vodka and tequila just to earn points.
Yeah, I mean, it get ridiculous out of hand, but the hunt, it dictates the market, right? It all stems from that once a year drop. It really drives a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to how the rest of the lineup gets treated. Because BTAC and Pappy allocation on their standard bottles becomes a bloodbath. This is where a lot of people misunderstand what's happening. Allocation doesn't automatically mean a bottle is ultra rare.
100%. Allocation, it just means that demand in a specific area is higher than what the store receives. So instead of cases that are sitting on the floor or in the back shelf or whatever, a store might only get 6 bottles for the whole month.
Right, and once the bottle's behind the counter, people instantly assume that it must be something special.
Yeah.
Even if it's the same bourbon that used to be on the bottom shelf.
Absolutely, because you see something on the back shelf or behind the counter or whatever, and you see everything else over there. Ooh, that's different. That's special. That must be better because that's because you're hiding it back behind the counter. And then you got social media, right? It pours gasoline on the fire. You see that bottle pictures, you see everyone posting the hauls, look what I found, all the bragging, all the Bourbon Bros popped up everywhere.
Yeah, that's where the tater enters the story.
All right, so we've heard the word, we've tossed around the word tater, a couple times. For anyone that doesn't know, what's a tater?
A tater is a bourbon hunter who values the trophy more than the pour. They're chasing the bottles because the internet told them to, not because they've tasted it and they know what they like.
For sure. Taters, they don't just buy bourbon, they create a panic around it. They turn normal bottles into status symbols, and that fear of missing out, that, FOMO, drives the hunt.
Yeah, the hunt drives the markup. And the markup creates this illusion that the bottle must be worth the price.
For sure. And that leads directly to the secondary market, the shadow economy of bourbon.
Yeah, that's the place where a bottle with $40 suggested price becomes $150 or $200. Or worse.
Or it can get a lot worse. And once consumers see those prices, online retailers see them too. The shelf's price starts creeping up to meet that perceived value.
Now everyone is using the secondary market as a reference point, and that's where the concept of value gets completely broken.
Yeah, gets way out of hand because the whiskey in the bottle, it never changed. Everything else around it changed.
Exactly. The story around the whiskey changed.
Yep. But here's the part of the story that people often miss. Buffalo Trace, it didn't sit still. They've been expanding aggressively.
Yeah, and this wasn't a small adjustment. They just completed a decade-long $1.2 billion expansion. They've added new warehouses, new distribution center, new bottling lines, fermenters, boilers, everything.
The whole 9 yards. According to industry reports, their production capacity has more than doubled from around 200,000 barrels a year to over 500,000. That's a massive increase.
It's huge. And I think this is key. Bourbon takes time.
Yes.
Right? You can't just flip a switch and make more 10-year Eagle Rare tomorrow.
Nope.
You can make it, but it's not going to be ready.
For sure.
Yeah. An expansion today doesn't fix your aged inventory overnight.
But it does change the future, and we're already starting to see the effects, and that's key because we talked about the bourbon boom. Buffalo Trace started increasing production, and again that didn't happen overnight, but we're starting to see some of those effects. We start seeing a bunch of craft distilleries popped up, but again, like you said, you have to plan for the future. So you start making that whiskey now, and and you're making it for 7-9 years down the road, and you hope that those trends are going to keep up. But we're starting to see the effects now of those massive increases that were happening, several years ago. We're starting to see more standard Buffalo Trace and more Weller Special Reserve on the shelves, and we're starting to see prices that are, reflective more of what that MSRP is supposed to be.
Yeah, I think the hype cycle is starting to cool.
Yeah.
And when supply improves and demand shifts, the tater tax starts to fall.
Thank God. So that is the Buffalo Trace problem. It's the combination of good whiskey, great branding, limited availability, allocation pressure, social media hype, and secondary market distortion.
And it makes consumers forget to ask the only question that really matters.
What is actually worth what I'm drinking in this glass?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to answer today.
So let's get started with the flagship, Buffalo Trace. It's the bottle that built the reputation, and for a good reason. It's made with their mash bill number 1, which is a lower rye recipe.
Right, it's less than 10% rye, so you get those classic sweet round notes of vanilla, caramel, soft oak. Everybody's palate's a little different, but that's generally the standard.
Very approachable.
It's bottled at 90 proof, so it's designed to be approachable, and at $25, that's an approachable. It's
a great buy for that $25 to $30 price point. But once it started disappearing and people started chasing it, that price shot up $60, $70, even $80. It got way out of hand and it was ridiculous.
Yeah, at that price, it's a totally different conversation. You're now comparing it to bottles with more age, more proof, and more complexity, and frankly, it just doesn't hold up in that arena.
It's not fair because it's a great bourbon.
Yeah, but wrong price.
Yeah, for sure. So if you can't find Buffalo Trace at a fair price, because it is still allocated, and even though it is, popping up more and more, and you can get more of it, when you go down to the distillery, you can get more. We used to go visit, and you can only get a bottle or two, and now you can get as many as you want. But it isn't available everywhere, and it is still marked up at some places. But if you can't find it, don't chase it. What do you get instead?
Yeah, instead, start with something like this Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. It's made by Heaven Hill. It's bottled 100 proof. It's giving it more structure, more punch.
Or you can grab the Benchmark Full Proof.
Yeah.
Yep, that's another great one. It's made by the same distillery. It comes out of Buffalo Trace, and it gives you that same DNA, just in a much louder, higher proof package for a better price.
Yeah, same family, less hype.
Yep. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk Weller Special Reserve, the green bottle.
Yeah.
This wasn't just your for years and years. It wasn't just a standard bottle on the shelf that nobody hunted. Right? It was everywhere.
Yeah. Well, then people figured out that it's a wheated bourbon that basically, thanks to the internet, connected its mash bill and its lineage to the Pappy Van Winkle mythology.
Right.
Suddenly it became something else.
Yeah. Which was not unfair to it, because it's a solid, good bourbon for what it is at its price point. It's flavor-wise, it's soft, it's simple, vanilla, honey, light sweetness. It's very easy drinking, which is perfectly fine at the right price. I like to use it in cocktails. It makes a great whiskey sour.
Yeah, I agree. But now that production is catching up, We're starting to see it kind of settle back to its original reasonable price point.
Yep.
The wheat in the mash bill instead of rye is what gives it that smooth, gentle profile.
Finally, it's normalizing.
Properly rated again.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're looking for a great wheated bourbon that's easier to find, try Maker's 46. Right here.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah. That's probably a perfect alternative.
I think so.
Yeah. It's their standard wheated bourbon and from Maker's Mark, but they take the maturing process. It's mostly this to do with the staves. They use a French oak stave in the barrel, right? So they sear those French oak staves. They put them down in their limestone cellar. It's just adds just the right touch to that.
Good solid wheated bourbon.
Yeah.
It's bottled at 94 proof, so it delivers that soft, sweetened, wheated foundation. Kind of layers on that nice baking spice that Maker's is known for, rich vanilla flavor, and it's sitting on almost every shelf right now.
Yeah, or if you want a bottle that I'm really enjoying right now, you could try the Green River Wheated. It's lovely.
It is good, and the full proof is even better, and that's such a great one.
And we're recording this on Derby Day, Kentucky Derby Day. So appropriately, the Green River horseshoe on the bottom.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic pull. Great recommendation. The Green River, that one's distilled down in Owensboro, Kentucky, and uses a nice hefty 21% wheat in the mash bill. So it's a pretty good use of that wheat there.
Yeah, I mean, it sits at that same kind of proof point. 90 proof.
90, yeah.
So it's the same as Weller. It gives you kind of a peach and a honey note for the sweetness. But you can find this on the shelf for, I don't know, $35 or $40. I think.
I like the Green River.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about Blanton's. All right, this is a bottle that everyone chases, or they did chase. Everyone knows, even if they know nothing about bourbon, everyone knows Blanton's. John Wick's bourbon of choice.
Right, and let's be honest, that matters. Pop culture moves the needle more than we like to admit.
It does.
The round bottle. There you go. Round bottle with the little horse on the top.
A little horsey.
The presentation, admittedly, is iconic.
It is. It stands out. It's very giftable. Like I said, even if people don't know anything about bourbon, they know about Blanton's. It's one that people want to buy for people. But the bourbon still has to show up in the glass, and Blanton's is good. It's got nice vanilla, caramel, and a light spice. It's very easy to drink.
But if you taste it blind against 5 other solid single barrels, which we've done,
we did.
I don't know that ours were all single barrels, but
there were 5. There were 5 decent bourbons, and speaking of that, and I think it's a testimony to Blanton's and to what we're talking about. The person that picked the bourbons out for us was a non-bourbon drinker, and they picked the bottle of Blanton's, and I think that speaks to hey, I know that's Blanton. I know what that is.
Yeah. Even if they didn't know what it was, the bottle drew their eye.
100%. And I think Blanton's lost.
If it wasn't last, it was second to last. I'm not sure,
but it's right there at the bottom.
But yeah, again, if you're going up against 5 other bottles, it probably doesn't win. People treat it like a trophy, but it drinks like a good, just solid bourbon.
Yep.
It's not a life-changing experience.
Exactly. It's made with Buffalo Trace's mash bill number 2, and it's their higher rye recipe, bottled at 93 proof, so it does have a little more spice, a little more bite than that standard Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, but not enough to justify the secondary market price.
No, not at all.
Its suggested retail price is fine.
Used to be better.
It was, I think when we first really started into the hobby, it was like 65.
Yeah,
and it's in the $80 range now.
I think it's getting up to 90 now.
Yeah. So, but above $100, you're just paying for the horse.
Right. Good bourbon.
Inflated reputation.
For a great alternative that delivers a similar rich and spicy profile without the absurd markup, check out John J. Bowman Single Barrel. Now this one is delicious. Love John J. Bowman.
Yeah, it's actually made by the same parent company, Sazerac, and distilled at Buffalo Trace before being sent to Virginia for a third distillation and aging. It has more proof, more character, and you can actually find it.
That's a bonus. All right, now let's talk about Eagle Roar 10. This one hurts a little bit because this is a really good bourbon.
It is. It's 10 years old, it's 90 proof, and it delivers. You get these, I don't know, like cherry, oak, light, kind of dry notes. But it drinks exactly like a well-aged bourbon should.
Absolutely. It's made with the same low rye mash bill as the #1 flagship Buffalo Trace, but that 10 years in the barrel, it gives it so much more oak structure and that signature cherry note.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
At $40 to $50, this is a steal.
It's fantastic value.
At $150, it's not even close.
No.
It delivers something real. It's just not a museum pricing.
Nope. Eagle Rare 10, properly rated at MSRP.
Yeah, completely broken in the secondary.
For sure. Now, if you want that age statement, look at for Knob Creek 9-year. It's distilled by Jim Beam, and it's bottled at 100 proof, and it's readily available. We have here the single barrel reserve, and that's actually 120 proof, but the 9 is great. It's you can find it everywhere. The single barrel takes that up a step, but Knob Creek 9 is one of the best values in bourbon.
It's delicious as well.
Yep.
If you're looking for fantastic value, try Early Times Bottle and Bond. This is also 100 proof, and it delivers a surprising amount of depth and character for the price.
For sure.
I think this was like $23.
Yeah, it's one of the best values in bourbon. All right, we're getting a little crowded here on the table, but we got E.H. Taylor Small Batch. This one gets a lot of respect, and it absolutely should.
Yeah, named for Colonel E.H. Taylor Jr., who's known as the father of modern bourbon industry. He's the driving force behind the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897, and that history in and of itself gives it credibility.
Yep, OG in bourbon, and the liquid in the bottle backs it up. I love Bottle and Bond bourbon. It's great following that process and that structure, but this feels more complete than a lot of the other bourbons in the lineup. It's balanced, structured, beautiful spice note.
Yeah, since it's Bottle and Bond, it has to follow a strict set of rules. It's got to be 100 proof, the product of one distilling season from one distiller, and aged at least 4 years in a federally bonded warehouse.
Yep, and I love that because that's not marketing fluff. That's real standard production, and you can taste it.
Yeah, again, but not at $200.
No.
That's where the value proposition starts to fall away.
For sure. This is a legitimate, well-crafted bottle.
In the wrong market.
Yeah, for those prices.
Yeah.
So for a similar maturity without the hype, let's go ahead and grab a Russell's Reserve 10-year. This is another fantastic value in bourbon. It's just, you just get so much out of the Russell's Reserve 10. This is a Wild Turkey product, bottled at 90 proof, and Russell's Reserve 10 is fantastic.
Yeah, or can't not mention one of our favorites.
Oh yeah.
If you want to lean into richness over spice, and it's not Bottle and Bond, so it doesn't compare directly on that level.
Right.
But you can't go wrong with Woodford Double Oaked.
Yeah.
It's made by Brown Forman, and you heard us sing its praises multiple times, I think,
For sure.
in several episodes. Just a wonderful bottle.
All right. Finally, we have Weller Antique 107.
Yeah.
This is the bottle where people think that they found the one. Right?
Well,
it's one of our go-tos for sure.
I mean, it's wheated, but it has more proof, it has more presence
Yeah.
than the Special Reserve. at 107 proof, that's where the Weller profile finally shows some real muscle.
Yeah, I'd say so. That sweetness, yeah, it's richer, more caramel and oak. You get a nice spice from that proof, even without the rye and the mash bill. Love that Antique 107.
It's genuinely good. It's a strong bottle, but not at. It's not a $200 plus bottle.
No, absolutely not. Strong bottle.
Broken pricing.
For sure. The obvious and best alternative here is Larceny Barrel Proof from Heaven Hill. Another great alternative, that we're doing here for our swaps.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the same high proof wheated bourbon lane. The proof is even higher, giving it more punch, and depending on the batch, it offers a better value.
I say so. So we've done a lot of good alternatives here for the Buffalo Trace products. We love pretty much all these bottles here that come out of Buffalo Trace, but we love them at MSRP. We don't love them at jacked up secondary market pricing.
Yeah.
And so when you look at this entire lineup side by side, it really puts the whole Buffalo Trace problem into perspective.
It does. Right? It does. It reminds you that underneath the insane markups, the store lotteries, internet hype, there's a distillery making fundamentally good bourbon. The problem was never the liquid in the bottle.
Never. So here's the truth. Buffalo Trace didn't change, didn't do anything differently. I mean, except for increasing their production and being a powerhouse in marketing. They just made good quality bourbon. They didn't do anything really any different, but the market did.
Yeah, right. The fever is finally breaking, and their massive production expansion is catching up. Availability is improving, and those wild secondary prices are starting to come down.
Finally, which means these bottles are finally becoming what they were always supposed to be, just really good bourbon at fair prices.
Yeah, they're not trophies, they're not investments, and they're definitely not museum pieces. Although to look in your whiskey room here in my basement, it looks a little bit like a museum, but they are meant to be opened and poured.
It is, but it's the best kind of museum because it's an interactive museum.
Right.
It's one that you visit. It's like, it's the touch and feel and taste kind of museum.
Yeah.
Right. And so that brings us back to kind of the next logical question that we have. If you refuse to play the allocation game and overpay for the hype, what should you be drinking?
Next time, we leave the hype entirely behind and we head straight for the value shelf. We're going to break down the absolute best bourbons you can find right now for under $50.
No lines, no lotteries, and no excuses. Cheers.
From Stave and Slide.